Hello YouTube fam, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Tina and I make videos on lifestyle, home, and DIY projects every single week. And before we jump into it, I really just wanted to say thank you guys so much for tuning in to my last video. The living room refresh was just so much fun. And if you guys missed it, I did share a big life update in that video, and that is that I'm going full-time with my YouTube channel. So just reading through all of your kind comments and seeing how supportive you guys are really just makes me so excited for this next chapter of the channel. So I quickly just wanted to say thank you guys so much for being the best and for tuning in for today's video. We're doing some fun projects and duping decor items that I found on Anthropologie, and I'm always on their site and on their Instagram just to find inspo. They always have the best decor, but not always at the best prices, so I love to dupe them and DIY them. And in this video, I'm trying out new techniques that I haven't tried before, so I really hope that you guys find inspo from these. And before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below if you haven't already, and be sure to turn on your notification bell. And let's go ahead and jump into the first project. So this first DIY is inspired by this item from Anthropologie, and this piece is just so beautiful and so unique. I have not seen anything like it. I'm not sure if it is a handmade piece, but it definitely has a handmade quality to it, so I definitely wanted to stay true to that. For this project, you're gonna need some polymer clay, and I feel like it's been a while since I used it, so I'm very excited to get back into it. You'll also need some aluminum foil, and I'm really excited to get started, so let's jump into it. Hello from voiceover Tina. To give our candle holder a strong base, I'm replicating the original one by balling up some polymer clay. Then we're going to flatten out the bottom by pushing it on the warp top, and this is going to create a domed shape. I'm also going to cup my hands on top of the clay, and we're able to shape it even further. So after that, I'm taking a sheet of aluminum foil, and then I'm just gonna roll it up, but I'm making sure that I'm kind of crumpling it as I go along and not really making it a smooth roll. Then we're gonna take this little stick of foil, and I'm basically just poking that right into the center of the clay dome. This is going to give some structure for us to build our clay on top of, and I believe this is called armature. You can also do the same thing with some wire, but essentially this is going to make a really great core for our clay. I've shared this tip before on my channel, but this is actually the first time that I'm using it on a project, and so far I'm really impressed. I then made another roll of foil, and this time it's going to be a little bit longer, and then I'm just going to bend it to make it an arch shape. So now we're going to stick that right into the clay again, and I'm trying to make this look as close to the original as possible so you can kind of see it forming already. And again, I'm adding the clay right on top of this, and one thing to keep in mind with this technique is to avoid trapping air bubbles in between the foil and the clay. If that happens, the air bubbles can heat up and expand, and this will either crack or puff in the oven. I'm also using a popsicle stick as well as some rubbing alcohol to get rid of any harsh lines and creases in the clay. Okay, so we're gonna stop right here, and rather than baking everything all at once, I'm doing it one section at a time. So we're popping this into the oven at 275 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 minutes, just because that dome part is quite thick. And you'll also notice that I added a little foil tent to the top, and this is gonna help us avoid any burning during the baking process. So after it's out of the oven, you'll see that it is pretty sturdy now, and I'm gonna go ahead and make another arch with the foil, and we're gonna add this right on the very top. So to make it stick, I'm basically putting 2 little balls of clay and then mending it into the baked clay. And since we already baked this once, this is going to make it so much easier for us to build on top of without warping the clay underneath it. And that's one of the best things about working with polymer clay. You're able to bake it over and over again, and this way you can just continue to build it up. For the actual holder part, I rolled out a slab of clay, and then I'm cutting out a long rectangle. Then I'm taking this piece and I'm wrapping it around a candle for size, and you can go ahead and just cut it and then just blend out the edges. So we're going to bake these again to harden the holder by itself as well as the top arch, and I just put this in the oven for an additional 15 minutes. Now that it's hardened, it's time to attach the holder on top. So I'm using an oven baked clay adhesive from SCULPTURAL, and we're basically just going to add a small dab here and there, and then I'm going to bake it one last time for another 30 minutes. Okay, you guys, this is looking so good. I really love how this is turning out. The original Anthropologie piece is black, but I'm going to switch it up and we're going to do this beautiful light peach color. I needed to do about 2 coats of this color, and then I'm also going to seal it up with a matte top coat. This style of decor is really popular right now, and I'm absolutely loving how this project came out. Not only is it functional, but it also doubles as a sculpture as well, and I just really love the shape of it since it's so organic and unique. And I hope the tips that I share with you guys in this project will help you build more sculptural pieces with clay for your home decor too. Alright, so for project number 2, I was very inspired by the Anthropologie lamps, and if you guys have not seen their lighting, they are seriously amazing. They have the most fun and unique lighting, so I always love looking in that section for inspo. And for this project, I wanted to share with you guys a hack that I like to use for my DIY process. So I found this lamp at Target, and it was only 15 bucks, so I felt comfortable just DIYing it. So first, I'm taking a picture of the lamp on my iPad, and from there, what I'm going to do is put the image in Procreate, which is one of my favorite apps on my iPad. And we're just going to draw the design right onto the photo, and this is going to help me envision it. And you can honestly do this with any image, even if you don't have an iPad. You can totally do this with your phone just to mock up a design before you commit to it. And I hope this hack is helpful for you guys, because if you're like me, I am very indecisive when it comes to designs, so this is a great way just to nail it down and make it come to life. So now that we have a game plan, it's time to DIY it. Before we do anything with this project, I'm going to go ahead and remove the bulb as well as the shade from the lamp. For the design, I'm going in with my handy dandy paint marker, and I'm using a white color. The diameter of this lamp is 14 inches, so I'm marking off every 2 inches. And from there, I'm creating a line straight down connecting to each one of the dots. So I'm referencing back to the original design, and I'm just going to follow along with it, and I'm making these 2 lines on both sides of that straight line, and then I'm going to connect it with a point at the end. So I'm going to repeat this around the entire top, and as I go along, the paint is going to dry, so it makes it a lot easier when we're making these larger and larger. I also wanted to note that this lamp already had a gorgeous green color, so I didn't feel the need to change it, but you can totally switch things up with some spray paint or just paint the lamp base before we start this step. The paint marker that I'm using is a water-based marker, so if you do mess up at all, you can totally just remove it with some water. But honestly, I didn't worry too much if I did mess up at all. I wanted this to really have a handmade feel to it. So I did like the variation in the line width as I'm drawing along. Plus, when you look at the design as a whole in the end, you really won't see each one of these little imperfections. Some tips that I did want to share with you guys when you're hand painting or hand drawing any design is just to work slow and steady. And something that really helps me out is just to balance my hand on the actual item, and this really helps support my hand, or I also just push my arm against the desk, and this is really going to make it more steady. I'm really happy with how it's looking so far, so now it's time to move on to the diamonds. So again, I'm mapping everything out with these tiny dots, and this really helps me use them as a guide to connect all the dots together. And I find it just to be so much easier to draw straight lines when you can dot it out like this. The design that I'm doing is going to be slightly different than the original, especially since my vase has a different shape. So remember to keep in mind that whenever you're DIYing something, definitely adjust your project to suit whatever you're working with. Now for the bottom part, we're basically just going to repeat the top pattern, but this time it's a little bit longer, so I'm going to start with the outermost shape and then I'm going to work inwards. Adding on a fun design like this is such an easy way to upgrade a lamp that you already have at home, or you can totally transform any affordable lamps that you find in stores or thrift shopping. And I really love turning to higher end stores like Anthropologie just to see what kind of patterns and designs are in for the season, and I definitely think that this design was up my alley. Plus, the lamp that I'm using in particular is quite small, so this was just a nice way to test run it to see if I like the style enough to try it for a full-size lamp. To seal it all in and to protect our design, I'm using a matte clear coat around the entire base, and I gave this 2 coats. This next step is totally optional, but I thought it'd be fun to add some embellishments to the base, so I'm using these little wooden half rounds to glue to the bottom and the top of the lamp, and I'll have these linked down below. I think they are so helpful to have in your DIY kit, especially if you love this look. These work so much better than just gluing down some wooden beads and are now a must-have in my kit. I was also thinking that I could add something to the actual lampshade, but there already was so much going on with the base that I decided to leave it as is. This lamp turned out so cute, and with this project you can totally get the anthro look for less, and all it really took was a little patience and a paint marker to make it happen. I'm really loving this graphic look with the green tones and the wood elements. I think it just ties it all in together, and now I totally want to make over even more lamps for my space. I'm absolutely loving both of those projects, but let me know what your thoughts are below, and also let me know if you found some of my tips to be helpful. I love sharing my best tips and tricks, so it makes me super happy that you guys are able to actually use them. And if you're inspired by any of the projects from today's video, be sure to tag me over on Instagram and also follow along since I post on there every single day. And I cannot close out this video without sharing some of your recreations, so here they are on the screen. Thank you so much for sharing your creativity with me and also hanging out with me every single week. I have a big announcement coming out on Sunday, so be sure to watch that video. And that is it for me today. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!